guys, it's Nevaeh, and I'm here to sprinkle my thoughts on you girls. I came to talk about the power of having special interests because I think sometimes we close ourselves in and aren't given the space in the room to, dive deep into our special interests because we feel like we're busy doing other things to maintain a life because it's hard out here. But I really wanted to come and remind somebody how important it is to have a special interest and how having a special interest can lead you to feeling like you have a purpose, and purposes create abundance. So let's get right into it. I'm going to give you a little bit of a background about me, and if you see me looking down, it's because I wrote down some things so I can make sure that I hit the points that I want to hit and don't miss anything. Some background is that I have always been pretty purpose driven since I was young. Like, I just had like a strong sense of purpose, and it showed up everywhere in my life. It showed up with my friendships, my family members. It showed up at school, and I always had this way of analytically thinking while also having a great balance of empathy and understanding for what people were going through. And because of this, it made me feel like I had to be the voice of reason for a lot of people, even if it was like adults that I knew, which I think maybe looking back, it's a lot for a young child, but it creates character. But being that voice of reasoning and just feeling like I had the integrity and the honesty to do so, and I felt like I just naturally aimed to be unbiased, although we all have some sort of bias to an extent because, our experiences create our perception. I always aimed to be as unbiased as I possibly could, and I've always just was naturally drawn to helping people in that kind of way. So with that being said, it showed up everywhere in my life, as I said, and it also showed up in content creation. As early as 16, I started making TikTok videos after getting pregnant and having a baby at 16. I started making advice videos. I started showing people what my day-to-day life looked like. I would tell people certain laws that they had to protect themselves so they could pump milk at work. And I just tell people my experience as being a teen mom and how I was getting through life still going to high school. And I just felt strongly called to do that because I felt like if I'm experiencing something that I know a lot of people may go through, but it's not talked about enough because it's taboo, I'm going to speak on it. And because of that, it led me into making content creation, which I always had a feeling that I like to do. I had special interests of like editing videos since I was like 6. Like on my tablet, I would take videos with Barbies and stuff, and then I would edit it, clip them, and stuff like that. It shows up in my future, so that's a special interest as well. But it showed up in my future with creating content. I started making content at 17 on YouTube, and I wasn't as consistent as I would have liked to be, but I honed in on it a lot more around that age. And then recently I'm like really heavy into it because I feel like it's a part of my purpose. Ooh, the sun is on you guys. I feel like it's a part of my purpose. So with that being said, you guys can see a little bit about my background. Now for me, currently, I am a sociology major at UCLA. This was my dream school since I was 13. By the age of 15, I knew that I wanted to be a therapist. I didn't tell my mom, of course, because from the age of like 5 to 15, I would always say that I wanted to be a doctor. But then I started realizing these special interests and gifts that I had, which made me lean more towards therapy. But I knew that telling her might make her, be like, why? I thought you wanted to be a doctor. And I think I had the fear of disappointing her. So I kept it to myself so I could stay strong-minded in what I wanted to do. And I actually didn't even write it on my application. I came in as a biology major, switched to psychology with the intent of being a therapist. Then once I found out you could become a therapist even with the major of sociology, I switched to that because the study of communities together and people together was super interesting to me, and I didn't have to deal with the prerequisites that psychology required. But with being a sociology major, I started learning more about people, about communities, about communication, and there's so many things that I didn't know about. And it fueled me even more. Those special interests fueled me even more because I realized that there is literally so many groups of people who don't have a voice or whose voices aren't heard. and also so many people who, you know, struggle with self-development and struggle with becoming who they want to be. And because of that, whenever I'm learning something in school, I'm able to come and be inspired by a topic that I was listening to in class, and then come and speak on it in a YouTube video. And although I turn things into my own, and I speak more towards the things that I'm passionate about, I use what I learn at school to help fuel the conversation sometimes, or even the things that I learn on YouTube, the things that I learn from conversation with other people. But the point of what I'm saying is, everything that I do in my life has to do with everything. I really believe that because everything that I do in my life feels purposeful, because I'm interested in people, because I'm interested in helping people, interested in communities, interested in neurodivergence, the African American community, the Latino community, because I'm interested in so many different things, I'm able to come and speak to people in a way that is able to get through to them, because, you know, my passion is fueling that. So I understand that everybody's passions may not be the same as mine. You might have a completely different passion. It has to do with like mechanics or the ocean. I like the ocean, but like yours could be the ocean. It could be sand. Like it could literally be anything. But what I am coming here to say is, if you surround your life about what makes you feel purposeful, what makes you happy, that purpose and that passion can turn into abundance, not only financially but mentally. Because whenever you are in a state of peace, not too happy, not too low, but you're just in a state of peace and understanding that what you are doing is what you feel like you're meant to do, or what you're made to do, or what fulfills you, you're able to be a lot, you're able to be a lot more balanced, and you're able to live a life where you don't live in a constant state of stress, because you have things to look forward to. And yeah, sometimes I don't feel like getting up and going to school. I don't always feel like doing work, you know what I'm saying? But whenever I get done doing it, I always feel proud of myself and happy that I did what I felt like I needed to do. Because at the end of the day, even when you don't always feel like doing something, it doesn't mean that it doesn't interest you or that you don't love it. For example, sometimes you might be in a relationship and you have rough days with that person. You might not feel like being with that person 24/7, or sometimes you might not feel like showing up. Maybe you know that they need you in a certain way and you don't feel like showing up, but at the end of the day, you do it because you know that's your obligation, your duty. And whenever you do it, you never regret it, because it fulfills you, even though in the moment you might have felt too lazy to do something. So it's the same thing sometimes with your special interests and your passions. You will not always every second feel like being productive, but you never regret it. And I would just urge you to use your passions and your special interests to be productive. Don't always feel like you have to be productive in ways that don't serve you or ways that don't fulfill you, because having those special interests that lead to you being passionate about something and lead to you having purpose in your life, you'll never regret it. But anyways, that was enough of me sprinkling my thoughts on you guys. I hope this was of service to somebody who was listening. I know it will be, but thank you guys for listening. Holla at your girl. Be real or be real.